interrupts, disturbs, or disrupts this meeting will be asked to leave. If they do not leave when asked, they will be removed and may be subject to arrest. Now we are going to have the oath of office of our newest trustee, Chapel Hill resident Rich Allison. We are so happy to have someone who looks very familiar to everybody in this room, former chairman of the board and the current auditor of the state of North Carolina, Dave Bullock, administer the oath of office.
Good morning. Is this on? Okay, great. So kind of unusual. I get to swear in the guy replacing me, but it's great. Hey, UNC gets an upgrade today.
I don't know about that.
All right. Following oath is given to all trustees. It's my honor to give that oath to you, Mr. Allison. Do you solemnly swear that you will support and maintain the Constitution and laws of the United States and the Constitution and laws of North Carolina, not inconsistent therewith, and that you will faithfully discharge the duties of your office as a member of the Board of Trustees of the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill?
I do.
Further, do you solemnly and sincerely swear that you will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina and to the constitutional powers and authorities which are or may be established for the government thereof, and that you will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend the Constitution of said state, not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States, to the best of your knowledge and ability, so help you God?
Yes, I will.
Congratulations, Trustee Allison.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Auditor Bullock. And it's a testament to Rich Allison's devotion that he is willing to do this. And we very much appreciate your extensive background and professional accomplishment on this board. I'll now ask Secretary White to please call the roll.
Thank you, Chair Pryor. Mr. Allison? Mr. Valentine? Mr. Blaine? Mr. Bryan? Dr. Jones?
Here.
Mr. Kalapa?
Here.
Mr. Kotis? Ms. Lloyd? Mr. Meekins? Mr. Patel?
Here.
Mr. Pryor?
Here.
Ms. Taylor? Here. Mr. Turner?
Here.
And I am present. Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you, Secretary White. As chair of the board, I must remind all members of their duty under the State Government Ethics Act to avoid conflicts of interest and appearance of conflict of interest. If you know of any conflict or appearance of conflict with respect to any matter coming before the board today, please identify it at this time. Hearing none, we will move on to approval of the consent agenda. We have a number of items on the consent agenda for approval this morning. Please review the list of items on the screen before you, which include approval of open and closed session minutes of the January 22, 23, 2025 meeting, approval of the 2025, 2026 BOT meeting dates, Budget, Finance, and Infrastructure Committee items, designer selections for Fetzer Hall addition and renovation, New Residence Hall 1, 1700 Martin Luther King HVAC replacement, Bingham facility, Tate Turner Perrault elevator modernization, Tate Turner Perrault fire alarm replacement, and from the University Affairs Committee, approval of request to establish the Winston Center for Technology and the Developing Mind, something the board has heard about on multiple occasions, and another presentation yesterday, approval of the report on waivers for exceeding 120 credit hour limits, and Provost Clemens presented on those yesterday. Having read the materials listed under the consent agenda, is there any item that needs to be moved to the discussion portion of either the open or closed session agenda? If not, I will entertain a motion to approve all of these items.
So moved.
Thank you, Secretary White, and second by Trustee Blaine. Any discussion or debate? All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. The motion is approved. I'm now going to read a resolution in appreciation for the service of the student body president, Jalia Taylor, who has served so admirably on this board and has been a great addition to it. Whereas Jalia Taylor has served as student body president at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill and a member of the university's board of trustees for the 2024-25 academic year. And whereas Ms. Taylor has represented and thoughtfully advocated for a dynamic student body of over 32,000 students at the university, working for a Carolina for everyone while providing a valued and clear student voice to the board throughout her service. And whereas Ms. Taylor has also served the university as a member of the University Affairs Committee and External Affairs Committee, and whereas Ms. Taylor prioritized student wellness and the issue of food insecurity on campus, promoting local resources and collaborating with university partners to introduce Carolina's Meal Swipe Donation Initiative, something that this board heard about last year and everyone was quick to embrace. Donation initiative to help facilitate the donation of meals to students in need. And whereas Ms. Taylor advocated for greater transparency for students and worked with university leadership to establish the Undergraduate Student Government's Investment Advisory Committee, increasing student and staff participation in university relations. And whereas Ms. Taylor worked to expand professional development resources and opportunities for students in collaboration with Carolina faculty, alumni, schools, departments, and promoted increased accessibility to financial literacy resources to better serve the student population. And now, therefore, let it be resolved that members of the Board of Trustees of the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill thank Jalia Taylor and express their deep appreciation for her leadership and devoted service to this board, the university, and the state of North Carolina. I don't think we need a vote yet. Do we need a vote for the minutes, Carolyn? Okay. Can I get a motion? Thank you, Trustee Blaine. Any discussion or debate? All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Motion is approved. And I'm going to call on Student Body President Taylor in just a minute, but first I'm going to give some brief remarks. I'd like to welcome everybody to the #1 public university in the world here today. Yesterday, after our committee meetings concluded, the board made a visit to the new office space of one of the most exciting new programs on campus, the Institute of Risk Management and Insurance Innovation. We were joined there by its director, Greg Shiraklis, and Dr. Harrison Zeff, the director of research. Dr. Rachel Baum, the director of industry engagement, could not join due to a previous conflict, but has been hugely helpful in so many ways in launching this new program. The office space in Carolina Square was upfitted just in time. I got to give a special thanks to Andy Johns and Sarah Davis in the Office of Vice Chancellor of Research for the first ever industry CEO campus visit and guest lecture last month by Steve DiCarlo, the chairman of AmWinds, a specialty insurance company and risk management company headquartered in Charlotte. For those that may not be aware of it, AmWinds has over 7,000 employees around the world, and it wrote $44 billion of insurance premiums and had a little over $1 billion in EBITDA last year. It's also a 40% employee-owned private company that many people in North Carolina are unaware of. And AmWinds is looking to change that. It needs trained talent in risk management, both undergraduates and those with advanced degrees, like the ones that Greg, Rachel, and HB have been turning out for the past 15 plus years. Many of their master's and PhD students are among the most sought out graduates of this university and receive salaries which are among the highest of any of our schools at the university. Since this board approved the program in August of 2024, a new minor in risk management was later approved that fall, and in a time frame that is nothing short of remarkable and is also highly laudable. Right now, this current semester, there are 120 students enrolled in these courses, learning new disciplines in risk management that I believe will serve as a model curriculum for the future. Imagine students with traditional disciplines like economics, environmental science, data science, and combining them with cutting-edge risk management disciplines desperately needed by one of the largest, most well-funded industries in the world. That's what Greg, Rachel, and HB are starting with this program. It also allows for an innovative fundraising model utilizing corporate gifts to the university. This effort has been championed by a Moorhead alum, Tony Ursano, who has been a strategic advisor to insurance and risk management firms. And it's been his history and relationship with industry leaders and their investors that has allowed us to get funding commitments from companies like our friends at Amwins in Charlotte, along with Berkshire Hathaway, Chubb, Genworth, Marsh, Nephila, Sedgwick, Two Sigma, and Vinbrook, among others. I hope to hear more about the progress of this program at our May meeting, as well as maybe having a presentation on how we've managed to raise that money. Now, before I finish, I just want to address, in my view, what is one of the single most important things we do here as trustees: ensure the safety and security of our students and our world-class faculty. No one takes this responsibility more seriously than our colleague, Marty Kotis. He has consistently been an advocate for preventative safety measures on this campus, from adding security cameras in key locations, something that was originally resisted by some, to getting license plate reading technology that would enable greater access by law enforcement to a database in order to catch criminals faster. And he has done this in coordination with the UNC System Office, Security Head, and our University Police. He is also the person who championed the search committee effort most directly responsible for our having the best university police chief in the country. I want to commend him on his degree of collaboration on the drafting of a resolution that he will present later today. The same goes to the Chancellor and his team, the Council's office, in an effort that resulted in a resolution that will further ensure the safety and security of our students and our world-class faculty. Thank you, and I'll now call on Student Body President Taylor.
Okay, so I am coming from the podium today because I have a brief presentation and one last thing that I want to advocate for before I conclude my term as student body president and as a trustee. Okay, so this will be about the importance of interfaith spaces across colleges and departments. So the idea of an interfaith space in meditation rooms are an opportunity for students to be supported for their holistic wellness and of the university community. So spaces such as an interfaith center or spaces on campus would allow students of all religious backgrounds to the opportunity to practice their faith. And really quickly, I do want to introduce one of my colleagues that's standing up here with me. Her name is Kizra Ahmad, and I'll let her briefly introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. Thank you guys for having us. I'm Kizra. I was Jalia's executive assistant throughout this year. I'm a sophomore, and we've worked really hard on this proposal and talking to students all around and administrators on campus. So excited to get into it.
And so kind of what we'll be structuring our presentation around today is, one, the importance of interfaith centers, two, some of the different bodies that we've talked to regarding this initiative, and then three, our recommendations.
So to get into the kind of the importance of interfaith prayer spaces, so as you know, many students across Carolina come from all types of backgrounds, religious, spiritual, and having that kind of space on campus is really important to students' well-being, as we found, whether it's for student success, academic success, personal success, and of course, spiritual success, regardless of what religion you come from. You know, and mental and spiritual well-being, as we've known from multiple research initiatives across campus, is something that students support, administrator support, and the general university student body supports.
And so some of the groups that we talked to on campus, and sorry that this slide got a little bit messed up, but we spoke to the Undergraduate Senate, the Muslim Student Association, the NC Study Center, some representatives from the Jewish student community, and several deans at the university. And just from talking to the NC Study Center as well as the Muslim Student Association, we found that an interfaith center or interfaith prayer center spaces on campus would be really impactful to students across campus. Just briefly, some quotes from the NC Studies Center. He said, it's often very hard to reserve spaces on campus for religious purposes. So this is a step in the right direction. And then from Nawfal Muhammad, who is the president of the Muslim Student Association, he's mentioned in reference that both initiatives are great and they would help the Muslim students feel like they belong on campus. It would also help Muslim students feel like the university cares for their well-being and priorities. The implementation would create a more inclusive campus environment, reducing stress and facilitating the academic success of students. So just from those two quotes alone, we can kind of see kind of the potential impact that initiative like this would have. And then again, I mentioned that we engaged our undergraduate senate, and so they overwhelmingly passed a resolution to support the implementation of interfaith prayers or an interfaith center on campus.
So we did a tour of Girard Hall. I'm sure you all know, Girard Hall used to serve as a university chapel back in the day. And we have spoken with the provost and also some fellow students, Muslim students, some Jewish students, to see where we could potentially take this building. And one of them was to have an interfaith center sort of central on campus. This is great because it allows on-campus students and off-campus students to access a central prayer space. And it's mentioned, so this quote is also from the president of the Muslim Student Association, and that this would be a great community area. So for stakeholder engagement, one of our biggest stakeholders that we spoke to were the deans of a lot of students, colleges around campus. I do believe in Jalia as well that they're very integral to leadership and how their schools are run, and they all overwhelmingly agreed with this initiative of having a lot of interfaith spaces. They're also open to facilitating broader communications about if certain spaces exist in their schools, where they are, and then the potential for also implementing new ones if such doesn't exist. And finally, we sort of talked about how potentially if there isn't a space in a school or a building, how different kind of buildings or different colleges can collaborate to maybe have one that's sort of proximal for a lot of students in an area. And then finally, these were our recommendations based on our exploration and our research. So one could be that the university promotes and refurbishes some online resources about, hey, where do these spaces exist on campus and the potential for more. And secondly, to potentially fund some comprehensive interfaith centers and awareness that can include tokens or pieces from different faiths, different cultures, and also potentially furniture. And then 3 is to formally designate interfaith spaces as a center of well-being on Carolina's campus. I think that could help point a lot of members in school in the right direction, and then also allow students to understand that this is something that the school prioritizes, and this is something that UNC wants as a token that they care for their well-being.
And then the last thing that I'll cover really quickly is some of the work of peer institutions and what they've done. One that I'll highlight is you all are very familiar with NC State University, and they actually have on their website for Office of Equal Opportunity kind of information about resources on how to get into contact with interfaith prayer spaces on campus. And you'll see that they list all their locations on campus, just kind of providing some transparency to the student community. And then they also have some pictures of what their spaces look like. And so that is kind of the end of our presentation, but we're hoping that, the university will kind of move in this direction to designate some either a center or spaces on campus. And happy to take any questions.
Yeah, thank you.
Trustee Cotis.
Thank you all for this presentation. I think it's a fantastic concept, and the university, I think in trying to address some of the mental health issues that we've seen, this uptick, significant uptick in mental health issues, offering interfaith spaces can help assuage that problem. And so I think it's a great resource. I know the university previously had shied away maybe from supporting interfaith efforts, and we'd had a conversation about that a few years ago with former Chancellor Guskowitz when they were doing some of the mental health outreach efforts and not wanting to feel like they could do that because they were trying to balance including everyone. And so I think this is a great step in that direction, and I wholeheartedly support it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'd
Secretary White?
like to tag on to that. I think this is a great idea. And I love that you're using your advocacy for the Carolina community. And Julia, I know this has been really important to you and you've been working on it. So I look forward to seeing you shine as you move forward.
Thank you all so much for listening to the presentation. And I'll probably be passing along some of these efforts to the new student body president, who some of you all have met, but his name is Adolfo Alvarez.
Thank you. Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. And I'll now recognize Katie Heath, the Graduate and Professional Student Government Body President, for her remarks. Katie?
Good morning, everyone. Oh, thank you. Well, I'm excited to be here for my final time speaking with you all at this meeting. It has genuinely been an absolute honor to serve as GPSG president this year. I've really had the privilege, it's been a privilege for me to be able to advocate to you all and to work with the administration. And I really do appreciate and want to recognize the importance of the opportunity to allow me to come and speak. And so I do want to thank you all for that. I'm really proud of the progress that we've made, my administration has been able to make this year, and the students that we've actually been able to directly support. This definitely would not have been possible without a lot of hard work from the students that work with me and the students that make up GPSG. And I also wanted to specifically take a moment to thank the administrators that have really taken time and care to work with us as an organization and to uplift voices of grads. In particular, Dean Beth Meyer Davis and Provost Clements have just been incredibly kind with their time and with the efforts that they've done. And so I did want to take a moment to thank you all for that. I also wanted to take a moment to just affirm the importance of graduate professional students on campus. We are the ones that make it possible to teach our growing student population. We are the ones that are carrying out research that directly benefits the people of our state, and we are really intertwined with North Carolina and its economy. And in return, we rely on UNC to educate and support us. I'll say it's a very uncertain time being a graduate student right now. For many of us, our funding and our research and our career plans are evolving very rapidly. And despite these changes and everything that is happening, we as graduate students are going to keep working and achieving because we want to make North Carolina and the world a better place. And I want to challenge everyone in this room to consider how you can step up to support graduate students because graduate students are part of what makes UNC so great. So my term is going to end in just a couple of weeks, and a new president should be announced this week. Our election is actually today. So I wasn't able to bring them with me today, but I'm sure you all will be introduced with them very soon. I'm certainly looking forward to having some time to go back to focus a little more on my research where I use AI to improve radiation therapy for cancer patients. And certainly I'm going to be spending some good time writing my dissertation this summer. I'm planning to defend my dissertation in December, so I'll be around for a little bit more. But certainly my plan afterwards is to stay in the triangle and continue my work as an engineer past this point. So, no matter where I end up past this point, I'm certainly always going to be a Tar Heel. And I just want to thank y'all again for allowing me to be here. So go Heels.
Thank you very much, Katie, and best of luck on your dissertation. I'll now call on Chancellor Roberts for his remarks. Chancellor?
Thank you, Chair Pryor. Good morning, everyone. I want to recognize a few people before my remarks. Sometimes you meet young people and you think, this is a person whose name I'm going to continue to hear for a long time. This is somebody who is going to go places and do things. And Jalia Taylor and Katie Heath are two such people. It's been a pleasure to work with them. Thank you for your contributions to the board and to the university. I also want to congratulate Adolfo Alonso on his election as incoming student body president. We look forward to having you on the board next year. I want to welcome Rich Allison. Of all the people I've met in the last year, there's no one who's been more thoughtful, more helpful than Rich has, and I look forward to working with you on the board. I also want to congratulate my friend Kevin Howell for his selection as chancellor at NC State. He's a good friend. He's a good man. He's the right person for NC State at this point in time. You know, we obviously have a friendly rivalry with our colleagues in Raleigh, but it's better for the state and its future when we work together, and I look forward to doing that with Chancellor Howell. I also want to point out that our chair, John Pryor, has a birthday tomorrow, and I think we should all wish him a happy birthday. Happy birthday, John.
I usually try and ignore those as best I can.
Oh, boy.
There you go.
Okay.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
I have to just say, once upon a time, a surprise birthday party was thrown for me. And if you want to talk about sheer mortification, that was my reaction. So, but thank you very much for this.
So we're nearing the end of the academic year. It's a busy time on campus. It's been a busy time for me. I was in Atlanta 2 weeks ago doing development work. We had a large event with the vibrant Tar Heel community there in Atlanta, and then in Charlotte the last few days last week for the ACC tournament, where we have more alums, I think, than any other metro area. We'll be out on the West Coast next week. We've got events planned in the Bay Area and in Southern California, again, continuing to spread the word, and it's always really fun to see our dedicated, fervent alumni base everywhere you go in the country, and just how much support and enthusiasm we have in so many different places. Exciting time for Tar Heel sports. Obviously, men's and women's basketball continuing to compete. Women's basketball will host the first NCAA tournament game on campus in 10 years on Saturday in Carmichael Auditorium. Men and women runners both won NCAA championships last weekend. Our women's lacrosse team is ranked #2 in the country, plays tonight against Virginia Tech. As always, encourage everyone to come out and support the Heels. Our School of Civic Life and Leadership, the Skill 190 class, that's the civil discourse class. I think I may have mentioned before that they are using the Israel-Palestine conflict this semester as a template for teaching civil discourse, on the theory that if you can have a scholarly dialogue around that topic, you can do it about just about anything. And that class, with a lot of help from a lot of folks in the Chancellor's office and elsewhere, Global Affairs, Provost's office, went to Israel last week over spring break as part of their coursework. And that was a big success. I look forward to meeting with those students and hearing more about that trip. We have a new marketing function. Adrienne King has joined us from the University of Indiana. We're excited about welcoming her. We had not really had a formal university marketing function, and so delighted to tell you all more about that as she continues to make progress. And there's obviously a lot of talk and concern about federal research funding. We talked some about that yesterday. We continue to advocate with policymakers, both in Raleigh and in Washington, to tell the terrific story about the groundbreaking research that we do here in Carolina, the thousands of jobs that are created
by our research activities, and also to prepare, given all the uncertainty, for a range of possible eventualities from a budget and planning standpoint. I would just say that although I recognize there's significant uncertainty and that creates a certain level of anxiety, if there's one thing that our history as the nation's oldest public university should give us, it's the confidence to know that we can come through any set of circumstances and emerge stronger on the other end. We've been through world wars and pandemics and depressions, a civil war. We've always come through stronger. We've always come through better. This university was founded by builders, by innovators. So let's be builders. Let's write the next chapter of this legendary university whose best days are yet to come. I'm honored to have the chance to play my part. Go Heels. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chancellor Robertson. I think that's a great message. You're absolutely right. The best days are ahead of this university. And I'll now recognize Trustee Cotis to give the report on the Budget, Finance, and Infrastructure Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chair Pryor, Board of Trustees members, this report covers items discussed during the Committee on Budget, Finance, and Infrastructure's meeting yesterday, March 19th. The committee reviewed and approved the open session minutes of January 22nd, 2025. The committee also reviewed and approved the fiscal year 2026 all funds budget. At this time, do I hear a motion to approve the fiscal year 2026 all funds budget as presented and adjusted yesterday?
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Finally, the committee considered and approved 6 designer selections. These items were approved by the board as part of the consent agenda this morning. Detailed information about each request is available in Onboard. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This concludes my remarks.
Thank you, Trustee Cotis. I'll now recognize Trustee White to give the report on the External Relations Committee.
Thank you, Chair Pryor. Chair Pryor and Board of Trustees members, this report covers items discussed during the meeting of the Committee on External Relations yesterday, March 19th. The committee received a development update from Vice Chancellor for Development, Mike Andreessen, and a federal affairs update from Kelly Dockham, Director of Federal Affairs. I appreciate Kelly's work in Washington and her viewpoint of seeing this as a season of refinement, as she presented. The committee also reviewed and approved a resolution on upholding campus safety. I'd like to thank Trustee Cotis for his leadership and good work on this resolution to protect our campus community and university. Upholding campus safety, compliance, and federal funding is an opportunity for the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill to be a leader. So on behalf of the committee, I move the board approve that resolution now. So, do I have a second? Any discussion or debate? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed? The motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This concludes my remarks.
Did you, Trustee Jones?
I did want to, and I don't know if I've hit too many buttons here or not. Our university and this board led the nation with regards to protecting the freedoms of speech, thought, and conscience on our campus. We made the philosophical argument over the course of a couple of years. And as a reminder, we were the first university in the nation to affirm the Chicago Principles on Academic Freedom, to establish institutional neutrality as university policy, and to ban compelled speech in the form of mandatory diversity statements. This resolution is an excellent coda to that philosophical work. It sets a clear expectation for behavioral standards and clearly defines consequences for people that can't live up to those standards. I really would like to applaud Trustee Cotis for his work in putting this together, and I'm so proud of the university for having taken this stance. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Jones. Trustee
So-
Coates.
Not to make this a, mutual admiration day, but it's Trustee Jones' work on free speech with the Chicago Principles and Calvin Report that leads to discussions about this, because when we talk about free speech, and we're very much in favor of it, that's different from shouting people down or mob rule. And I think sometimes the two concepts get conflated. And I think what this resolution does is really kind of draw us a line, make sure that we're in compliance with Title VI, and addresses safety issues, not words. People are entitled to share their words, but when they cross over into violence, property damage, and other actions like that, or if they shout down or disrupt university operations, that's that line. And so I think it's great that the School of Civic Life and Leadership is delving into this. The university has tackled this with our free speech module for freshmen, and it's a coordinated effort to cover free speech and to balance that with the safety of the school and protection of our students.
Thank you, Trustee Cotis. That concludes our open session.
Sorry, we had a comment.
Oh, I'm sorry, Trustee Meekins.
Thank you. I want to echo the comments that have been made about Marty, Trustee Cotis, and the effort he has put into this resolution, and the time and effort and thought that he puts into a lot of the work that he does here at UNC. He is a tireless worker. He and I don't see eye to eye on some things, but he always handles himself with civil discourse and is a good model for that. And I appreciate our friendship. And I did not speak out today about the resolution as I did yesterday, because I've given it some thought. But I do feel like in passing this resolution, I just want to send a message out. And I do believe that every single member of this board will agree with this. We live in a very difficult time right now, and it's a very complicated world, and it's a very political world, and it's a world where sometimes the extremists of our society have the microphone. And so I think it's important for those of us who are not necessarily extreme to come together and at least discuss where we agree and disagree. I'm all for the resolution. I'm all for the rights for every one of us, and students, non-students, to speak out and protest when they feel like they have something they want to protest. So I'm all for free speech, and I agree with Trustee Jones on that matter. We have led the nation in that regard. But it's a very, very delicate balance. And my only concern with the resolution was, and still to some degree is, that it singles out anti-Semitism as opposed to any other hate group activity out there. And I think that's because, obviously, since 2022, it is at the forefront of our thoughts, and it needs to be. No one on this board and no one in this room, I believe, would disagree with the need to speak out against anti-Semitism. Sometimes, however, if we speak out on one issue, others may perceive that we're not thinking of them. I know that if we had passed this resolution 10 years ago, we would have probably had on our mind the fact that we had just lost 3 of our family community who happened to be Muslim and were killed perhaps because of their faith. I was there that week because Coach Smith had died, and his funeral was that week, and there was a vigil at the pit for those 3 family members. And that was at the forefront of our thoughts at that time. So I just want the community to know, and I believe that every single member of this board agrees with me, that it's any hate speech that we're against. It's any hate speech that needs to be monitored very heavily, because it doesn't need to get out of control. And if it does, there needs to be consequences. So the clear message is, and the only reason I spoke out against it then, and I'm saying something now, is because this resolution, I don't want anyone to take it as anything other than the fact that we need to do what we can as citizens of our university to stop the hate speech, to keep it from happening, and to keep our students safe, regardless of which side of any issue you're on. And that if you do break the law, there are going to be consequences, and we believe that there needs to be. So thanks for that opportunity.
Chairman.
Yeah, thank you, Trustee Meekins, for those very thoughtful remarks. Okay, Trustee Cotis, then Trustee Kalapa.
Very brief, just to make sure we're discussing the facts here, and I appreciate Trustee Meekins' comments. Title IX was modified by Executive Order 13899 in 2019 to include the term anti-Semitism. So this is simply compliance with Title IX. It's not choosing a particular group. And frankly, at that time, it had more to do with some of the events in Charlottesville, I believe, and other events around the country. This is not a direct response to recent events or any sort of university position on the Israel-Palestine conflict.
Thank you, Trustee Curtis. Trustee Kalapa?
Yes, since we are thanking everybody, I would say that the board with our Chancellor and all the people, thanks for this resolution. It really sends out a very good message. I just want to thank one more party that is protecting the students, the faculty, and us. Putting their life and limb at risk is our security people and the officers that protect us. I just want to thank them for doing that. That is making us walk in freedom everywhere. Thanks a lot. That's it.
Thank you, Trustee Kalapa. Anybody else? Then I'm going to entertain a motion to go into closed session. Secretary White?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the board convene in closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute Section 143-318-11A1 to prevent the disclosure of privileged or confidential information, and also pursuant to Section 143-318-11A2, A3, A5, A6, A7, and A9.
You've heard the motion. Do I have a second? Trustee Blaine, thank you. Any discussion or debate? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We're going into closed session.
And approve the open and closed session minutes of January 22nd, 2025. The committee also considered and approved a request to establish the Winston Center for Technology in the Developing Mind, as well as the report on waivers for exceeding 120 credit hour limits. These items were approved by the board as part of its consent agenda this morning. We also heard a presentation on empowering research excellence from Dr. Penny Gordon Larson, W.R. Keenan Jr., Distinguished Professor in Nutrition and Vice Chancellor for Research, and Dr. Jeff Stringer, Clark Pearson, Distinguished Professor of Obstetrics and Gynecology and Director of UNC Women's Global Health. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This concludes my remarks.
Thank you, Trustee Jones. That concludes our business today. Without objection, we'll adjourn. Thank you very much.